Here we come, baby.
Oh,
Oh yeah, we're back. We're back in black. I'm
we
back.
are live
But John,
in
from
Starbucks.
his near-death experience last week with Norovirus, is back from the dead.
Yes, it took them 3 times to revive me, but yeah.
Did they have to take out the paddles, put you on like a respirator or anything like that? No.
I've had too many energy drinks, so they're like we could actually hurt ourselves. So we try to shock this stuff.
It would shock back, like kill the actual like EKG person.
Just sitting on the table sparking, like
Yeah, you kind of like you give up that vibe anyway. I'm not saying like you're the emperor, but I do believe that you do shoot lightning bolts out of your hands at times.
Sometimes, yes. I stopped walking on water a long time ago, but that still happens. Yeah,
that's right. That'd be really something. Well, as you can tell, I'm not in the home studio here today. I am in the studio away from home in Davenport, Florida.
in my neck of the woods.
In John's neck of the woods. But I never saw John this trip.
I know.
No, you're like 2 hours south. But
yeah, it's far, especially in, like Florida traffic. Ugh, it's a nightmare.
Dude, like I had a 10-mile drive today to this location. It took me over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Mostly highway too. Unlike, Highway 4 or whatever the hell it is. So
4 is notorious for just like, if you have to go anywhere, avoid the 4 if it's like between the hours of like 8 and 11 and like 3:30 and 6. It's terrible.
Yeah. Now it's all like weekend Disney traffic with all like kids in the cars and everything. So anyway, well, here we are not going to be talking about traffic here. I guess we will be talking about traffic in a different way.
Different type of traffic, yeah. Traffic that we actually have to pay for.
Yes, as opposed to just sitting in. For those of you who did show last week, I do apologize. It was sort of a last-minute decision. I was not feeling well either. John was way worse than I was, but hopefully everyone who showed up last week and started asking questions did come back this week. So do appreciate you all coming on every single week, and we do this for you, the watcher, listener, and obviously we rebroadcast this over at Perpetual Traffic quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Funny, I was just listening. I asked our producers of the Perpetual Traffic podcast, which is a top 25 marketing podcast, and I asked them, I said, what is the highest ranking show we ever did on the show? And he said, without a doubt, it was ROAS Sucks with John Moran. We reached number 2 in marketing for like 2 weeks. Damn. With those 2 shows. Isn't that cool?
That's so awesome. It's funny too, because you can tell like how many people feel that same pressure in the market where it's like, I know it sucks. I just don't know anything better.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I'm listening back to it, and both of us have colds. Like when we did the show, like it's really kind of funny. We're both like, really deep voices, radio voices. But that was a year ago now, and it's still. I don't think much has changed in the market as far as like what ROAS. Like we have been on a multitude of client calls this past week where they're still looking at that metric.
Yep.
And we try to educate the world here and look at a do and different way of doing things. The interesting part was that as I listened to it, I have to do an intro and outro to it. We had not yet launched Data Suite. So what you were actually doing is you were going back in the back end. I was like, one of the cool things you do, John, is you go back into Shopify and look at the actual data, like the source of truth. Mm-hmm. And now we have Data Suite, which actually shows the source of truth.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to listen to, but you can't argue with those stats. Number 2 in marketing for 2 weeks, thanks to you. So I appreciate that, pal.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because like numbers don't lie. That's what's really, really, really cool about everything. It's like we're not saying, no, we are saying ROAS sucks, but ROAS is not suck because ROAS is what it is. When you use ROAS to measure your entire business health, that's when it sucks. Yeah. So it's just a great indicator for what it is, but not the be all end all indicator. Or metric. Yep.
It is a metric. Let's just make sure that we're clear. It's a metric that you still do use.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You have to use ROAS because that's, your leading indicator of, okay, I have sales. And then now is it the right type of sales is different, especially if you want to grow, maintain, or even refine and optimize. So yeah, it's always, and that's actually something that we have for today. It kind of leads right into it. If you all remember, a few weeks ago, we did a YouTube live on this metric right, or this file right here. So I'm going to share screen.
Mhm.
And if you all remember, what we did with the company is we ended up going through the Q1 2024 compared to Q2 2024. And we took all of the product categories that were sold on the site, and there was a lot of them. There's like 80 of them. And we picked about the top 15 that we wanted to run for Q2 2025. We have a good feeling that if we launch these campaigns specifically in 2025, right before Q2, we can push into it really hard and capture a lot of new customer acquisition and a lot of new market demand that we are predicting based on previous year's metrics to be able to push into. So this is something that happens often internally in a company, and it's something that happens frequently and a lot of times isn't always communicated to the people that are supposed to drive the proper traffic. So sometimes you have a team, a production team that's like, okay, what are the SKUs? What is the collections? Are we anniversarying this product? Are we going to make this sale? Are we going to do the same email drop? Is it design changed? Are they the same like sizes and colors? And let's just say this is in the apparel industry, which is what this is in. And that is going to be an ever-changing dynamic market. You got different designers, different trends, different colors, different, whatever it may be. Those are always fast-moving environments. And to stay ahead of the curve, you can do some proactive research that turns into proactive marketing that we've done here. And this is going to elevate and jumpstart your campaigns and your progress into the new season because we have done our research. This is a lot safer and more comfortable of an environment rather than just what other things should we do? What other campaigns should we run? There are a ton of answers if you know where to look and if you can spend the time to do so. We did this with a client here, and we knew that we have a large amount of large amount of revenue that are coming in from like shirts and short sleeves and shorts and polos. And we knew that there was going to be increases from Q1 to Q2 this year. We assumed because there was last year. And we went and launched the campaigns and hit the gas on it pretty quickly. So what we're seeing here is the execution of only these product categories. You have like the pants and knits and leggings and athletic and jeans and yada, 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 tailored, that are all matching up to the pants and short sleeves and the knits and the athletic, the short sleeve jersey, all the stuff here. So we matched all of what we knew was going to happen. We launched them sequentially so that we can ease in without blowing out NCAC for launching a whole bunch of campaigns. We gave it about a week worth of learning, and then we went from $273 a day, cranked that thing all the way up to $1,900 a day in 2 days. The reason why I can scale is because I know what I'm going to expect. Most of the time people say, well, I don't know if it can scale, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. And I don't know, what's the best way to scale? Well, you can take it from $2,000 to $200 to $2,000. So you can 10X in 2 days if you've done the research and you know what to expect. Don't launch campaigns unless you kind of know what to expect. This one is going to do more remarketing. This one should have a higher NCAC because it is more prospecting. This one we should measure by last click because it always seems to be the second click or later on in the funnel. You want to know what you're expecting. Otherwise, you can't launch a campaign because otherwise it's just crossing your fingers and now you're gambling with your client's money and getting paid for it. That's always a dangerous thing. So you use the data, you use the research, you use the tools available at your disposal to have the confidence to say, I can 10X these campaigns in 2 days. And I'm going to get you more new customers. That's a bold statement. That's a bold claim. So when we're looking inside of the data suite dashboard here, you can see I have 3/5 to 3/13, which is the date range that we launched it up. And it is using full funnel. We'll bounce between full funnel and first click and click date and conversion date. We don't really have cash versus accrual. It's brand new. There is no previous history. So I was just kind of using full funnel click date, for example, because everything's new. So there is really no time lag.
Makes sense.
But when you look at what happened here, I would say, yes, this is a successful launch. Yes, this is working the way that it should be working, but how and why? Those are what I think are important to the entirety of the community is, yeah, everything looks green, but what are you doing? What are you watching? How do I manage all that kind of stuff? All of like the how do you all think is kind of what we want to push into here at the moment. So what I would normally do immediately after we launch a campaign and we spend a whole bunch of money on it is look at 2 very important metrics right off the bat. They're not the most important, but they are the truth, and it is the be all end all to every kind of campaign to say, is this going to work or not? And those metrics are these two here. One, I measure cost and the increase of those costs because we launched them sequentially, which means that we launched like a group of 4, waited a couple days, launched a group of 5, waited a couple days, launched a group of 4. We're launching them because we're still about 15 days early, even before Q2 starts. So we're getting a good roll on it, starting to get some ad spend, get them out of learning, get them, negative keywords, your adjusted T ROAS targets, all of your standard optimizations that you normally do. But then what we have to do is as we scale up, I have to say, okay, if that's increasing by 300%, this is the only metric that I actually care about right now. And what this means is that if I go up 300% in cost, I should have a higher percentile of new revenue attributed to that campaign.
Absolutely.
If I see 329 here, I should see something higher than 329 in this campaign. If I see 320 here, I should see something higher in my.
It's so clean.
That's exactly right.
But like you didn't have this prior. Like we always sort of defaulted back to, even listening back to that episode a year ago, is Northbeam was still kind of the one that we were using, but I think you had just figured out that it was a model data system. And,
it has some discrepancies that need to be worked out.
Yeah, it had a few things that weren't quite there, but it's like the confidence level, and we talked about this, I think, earlier this morning, really, with a client specifically, is that they're looking at GA4 and they're looking at their dashboard. I'm not going to say what it is. And they are still looking at old numbers. And I said, John, how much do you trust the numbers that are in Wicked, even if they are, because we've had some connectivity issues. Sometimes we have to do sort of a custom integration. It takes a little bit longer, and they have some privacy stuff that they have to deal with. But you're like, I absolutely believe the numbers. Even if the numbers are half true, they're still better than what you're actually seeing inside GA4 or the MCC for that matter. But this is like so clean, exactly what's happening here, like with a very high degree of certainty, which is like, we've been looking for this kind of tool for so long.
I know. It's so funny. And that's what's really interesting too, is like, you can even say like, well, there's a flip side to this coin, which is, all right, so you have standard shopping and you have your increase in spend and you have your clicks and you have your new visits. Like there's multiple things that we would want to look at when we're looking at scalability. And the first thing that we covered is those important metrics here. Those are your first 2 items. Like if this is going up by 300 and that went down by 10, abort immediately. Now, stop, shut it down. Doesn't matter. Just pause it.
Because it's end revenue.
Right. And you don't have that foresight if you're inside of Google Ads, because look, your returning revenue went up by 1,200%. So ROAS looks fantastic.
Right.
But if it was the wrong ROAS, because ROAS sucks, yeah, you're gonna look like a fantastic marketer until it's like, well, why isn't this scaling? So when we look at here is, yes, you do have new revenue increasing faster than your scale. Excellent. Now this revenue here, why did this go up to 4,995? Why did this one shoot up 1,200% from 380 to 4,995? Well, it's actually a measure of how good Data Suite is tracking. Sorry,
you're asking. No, you're asking the question I was going to ask you. But go ahead. Yeah,
I've been doing it a while. Usually, that's the next question. Wait a minute.
Am I that predictable? I guess I am.
I know it's everybody has the same question. Well, you measure new, but whoa, look at that returning going up 1,200%.
Those guys, right?
You ever seen Super Troopers? Oh, that little guy. I don't worry about that little guy.
Don't worry about it.
So here's what's crazy: is this is where you get to play with your attribution models to have a better understanding. So when you increase your standard shopping campaigns that are all showing up for guaranteed 100% non-brand, just trust me on that one. I can prove it, but we don't need to, because I'm going to explain the real reason why now. So the returning revenue is up 1,200%. Now, the Data Suite tracking is so excellent that this may have actually come in, yes, through the standard shopping campaign. That is true. If we look at the click date and say first click only, watch these 2 numbers, $5,000 and 1,800. When you hit apply, it's no longer $5,000 and 1,800. This is down to $48. So where did the 5Gs go? Well, what this is actually showing is your retention. This is your existing customer retention. This is a massive, massive, massive element of standard shopping that people do not understand, because they said, well, it's not going after my brand, which is an asinine thought. And I would love everyone to pause there for a minute. And why is it an asinine thought to say, well, if my customers are coming back, they're going to Google my brand? Yes. When you're Costco,
you would think, right?
When you're Ford, when you're Nike.
Nike.
Yes.
Not Fikey. You've used that example a couple of times this week. Right.
Yeah,
I know Nike. I don't know Nike.
Exactly. Right. Two same shoes, two same price. Nike, Fikey. Which one are you buying? Nike.
Yeah, of course.
So your returning customers, though, what this shows here is they're trying to leave you. They're Googling athletic pants for women, and you're retaining them. But it did not come from this campaign. They are your existing customer. Why is it not first click? Because this is so damn accurate that $48 of that returning revenue probably couldn't be attributed, or was actually returning revenue from some time we couldn't tell before. But it took $5,000 that you already had and said, oh no, this campaign actually didn't do that. That was already here. So why is it showing up though? Because they're retaining. What the action was taken by your existing customers is said, hey, I want pants, but I don't remember you. You're not Nike. I'm just going to go to Google and look for pants and probably buy some on Amazon. So anytime you see this thing ratchet up, this is your retention of existing customers. They are happening by chance, but they are absolutely repurchasing. Yeah. So it's not performance max for existing customers. It's not brand for existing customers. It's actually people that are trying to leave you. We retain them when they're trying to Google something else besides your brand name. And the amount that this increases as we capture them shows you how much we could have potentially lost in existing customer attrition that we have now retained with our new customer strategy.
See, a lot of business owners would look at that and they say, well, I'm paying for it twice. Why are you spending money over there? And the answer to that is, because I've seen you do this presentation, is like, well, do you still want them? I mean, yeah, they might be. And I have to assume, I don't know the dynamics of this account quite as well. I assume you uploaded a database to start this whole thing off. No, you didn't. Oh, okay. So so how do they know that they're existing customers in this particular case?
You can't actually exclude existing customers from standard shopping.
Right. However, did you upload a database for this client into Wicked Reports in order for them to know who's new and who's returning?
Yes. I thought you meant Google. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the reason why. So the question then becomes, well, they're coming back. They're not remembering who you are, but you're getting them again and you're paying for them again. Would you rather not have them?
Well, you know what's interesting is this is gravy. It really is. That's all this is. This is pure gravy. Because here's what my question would be. It's so funny that you say that, because that's normally the negative connotation. So it's almost like it's not a problem. This is actually an opportunity. And here's what I mean by that. If you gave me this much money and I gave you this much more new revenue at the NCAC that we already agreed to, you're happy, right?
Yeah, I don't see NCAC here, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, NCAC is over to the right. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're hitting my NCAC, I don't care.
Yeah, because I scroll over here. Exactly.
My ACAC is probably going to be better than my NCAC, is my guess.
Yep. And so these are all kind of launching. So this one's been scaled up, getting better. This one's scaling up, getting a little worse by $20. That's okay. This one's brand new and that's coming in at 35. Like, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Winner. You know, we have a bunch of winners already under $100 NCAC.
All right. So that's the goal. That's the ceiling that you have. That's the
ceiling, and we're launching it. So after optimization, that's where we need to get to. But if I say, hey, I'm going to dump a whole bunch of money in there, and your cost require first time customer, as we scale up 410%, your NCAC is dropping by $19, and your media efficiency ratio went from 1.1 to 1.9 in about 5 days time, we're good. Like, this is happy. Now, what
if
you
also 10 extra ad spend?
Yeah, exactly. Now you would be happy though. We haven't talked about existing customers yet. We're still happy, right?
I'm happy.
Exactly. We're all happy. So now when I say also, we have retained $5,000 in potential loss revenue, $1,800 in potential loss revenue, $750 in potential loss revenue, $1,600 in potential loss revenue, $500, all for the same cost in NCAC. This isn't going up because these people are coming in.
Right.
They're coming in spite of that. So we retained X amount of dollars. If you add up like 5, 7, let's just call it like 15 grand right here. We retained $15,000 of people who are going to leave. And why did we retain them? Well, we know in Q2, people want to buy this. So before we lose all of our existing customers to all of our competitors running ads that we know they're going to go into, we beat them.
And this was the one I think well, if you're watching this, go back, I believe it was 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken, where you just narrowed down the SKUs based upon, you also went back, looked back on 2024 results, said these are the most popular SKUs at this particular moment in time. So therefore I'm going to double down on this, which is sort of a logical way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of I don't see a lot of marketers doing a lot of logical things.
Most of the time it's like, hey, we have this thing that's failing. Let's update the bidding strategy. It's like, oh, we're looking at the wrong area. Yeah.
Look at like, all right, people aren't going to be buying, winter parkas in March. I mean, they might be, but still, well, in Boston, they probably still are. But,
right.
The point is like you look at the historical data, and then it gives you a clue as to, where to point the muzzle.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that muzzle is not a shotgun; it's a rifle, and that's exactly what you're doing here. You're just playing into it, but that's logical. Like that's kind of media buying 101. But I'm glad you're explaining it here and talking about it, because I think the basics are oftentimes what people forget. But then,
we get too wrapped up in the sexiness that is the bidding strategies and platform. Yeah. If you sell one sock to people with 2 feet, you're gonna fail. Doesn't matter what bidding strategy you use.
Right. Or that's a bad business model. You said that famously this past week. No bidding strategy is going to cure a bad business model.
That's very true. It's very true. If your prices are twice higher your competitors, we don't necessarily kind of, adjust the ROAS. I always say we're rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic
as it hits the iceberg. Yeah.
Yep.
There's only so much, and this is really sort of funny. It's like, I know we didn't really want to talk about this today, but I mean, there are certain clients. Like I was on a client or discovery call this week. That was a referral, and I usually do that when it's a referral, just for goodwill. And
absolutely.
I'm like, at the end of it,
like we're attorneys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in most cases, they're not good leads. They're not good matches for us. And I can always think of something potentially to do, but like their business model was so flawed. I'm like, no amount of anything that I could do could ever help them, aside from, we're sitting on $1 million in inventory. I broke even last year. I don't have any money for paid advertising, and I have a database of 14,000 dead leads inside Klaviyo. Like, I don't know what I can do for you.
Yeah.
You have no budget to do anything.
Kind of rolled in a corpse without medical insurance. Save them.
Yeah, I know. I think you have to have the business fundamentals. And I was like, I'm thinking to myself, what is the NCAC here? I keep going back to what's your LTV? What's your NCAC? They didn't know any of their numbers. No. None of their numbers. I'm like, they don't have any profit to actually determine an NCAC to begin with.
Right.
So, like you said, you can't bid yourself out of a bad business. But the point is like, you're looking at this client is thrilled because they're making money not hand over fist. They're paying something for it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think that idea of, I only want new customers, you're never going to get it in Google Shopping or Meta or whatever. You're always going to get the returning, even with all the exclusions. But at least within Data Suite, you can tease out who you're paying for and at what cost. And that's a huge thing now.
Yeah, this non-brand campaign is only focused on getting new customers. It is getting new customers and at a price that we like and afford and want to scale. Right. We are getting a ton of our own customers back that is involved in that. That's fine. I don't want to take on 10 grand worth of new and basically pay the same amount of money to lose 5 grand of returning. For the same cost, I can get 10 grand of new and retain 5 grand of returning. Like it's a win-win. It's always, when you're looking at Google search and Google shopping, in my opinion, in the Google Ads ecosystem, from an inbound perspective, are still king. Performance Max, yes, but it's built in remarketing. So it's not direct response scalability. That's what I think is also missing here is we sometimes will lean on the wrong channels that even Google pushes, like, hey, try Performance Max. Hey, try demand gen. Yes, but you, the media buyer, get to decide, or you, the company, or you, the person in charge of Google Ads, gets to decide, I know the corporation is going to feed me their new sizzle. Is it right for my business to what I need to achieve for this goal to what I am expecting?
Right.
If the answer of that is I don't know or no, do not do it. I'm still running standard shopping. It's a 15-year-old campaign type today with demand gen and Performance Max because I can 5x this with new customers in 2 days.
Yeah.
You can't do that very easily inside Performance Max. Or if you ask it, it might say, I don't feel like it. And you're like, all right, whatever. Right. So that's kind of relationship you have. So you have to still take that control and say, if I need to push in this direction, if I need to grow, scale, get new customer acquisition, and then measure it while we're pumping, that is what we need to look at. So you have to focus on the metric because here's the other part. This is the flip side to the coin. And this is where I love Data Suite. And this is where I love being able to teach this stuff, because this is actually that same time period. A lot of red. There's a lot of bad on the screen here. Like, all right, our costs are up, but our leads are down. Our cost per lead are down. Our sales are down. Our customers are down. Our ROAS is down. Our NMR is down. Looks really bad, right? Until you look why. So what the first two things that I look at is, yes, inside of this strategy, the only thing that really has changed is that Google Ads has spent a little bit more. When I launched those campaigns, I pulled from Performance Max. Okay. And so that was interesting. That Performance Max was pretty much all brand. So when I look at this here, what we have to look at is, okay, if I'm reshifting here and I'm sacrificing brand, I should have a slightly higher spend because I am pushing into a little bit more aggressively here, and Meta is as well here. But the global NCAC, because my first click is coming into standard shopping, will then go through the ecosystem of there is a Performance Max available, and there is also Advantage Plus on Meta. Standard shopping brought a person into the ecosystem. From that first click, I know that they are profitable and I can keep going. Where they went through else pops out the other side globally as, yes, but you're still buying new customers cheaper, even though you lost 12% of your existing customers. This is not new or returning. This is both. This is not new or returning. This is both. This is not new or returning. This is both. This is not new or returning. This is both. This is the only thing that shows new. So our new customers, we have a small bump in cost. We are buying them new. My test was, I'm going to pull away from Performance Max. I'm going to push into standard shopping. And I say that you will not lose, or you will not gain new customers more often. When you look at where the existing customer returning revenue is, it's just, a slightly down week by 26%, 8%, 13%. You do an email campaign, these will all be over 80. Doesn't matter. This is still our revenue that's attributed here, means it still didn't happen this week. But if they buy again, it has to go back to where they came from.
Right.
So that's why this is here. So all I have to look for, if I move this here, I should see a slight stable or bump, but this should not go up. My cost required first-time customer did go down 20 cents after pulling all my money out of Performance Max and giving it into standard shopping. And now we're going to push hard. And that's what we're going to be expecting. I expect that to go up. I can expect this to go down. I can really care less about everything else. The reason why is when they wake up every single day, they more than double their revenue in returning customers than we are adding in new. So until that yellow is overtaking the green will actually dictate your top line metrics way more often than the yellow, because they're a bigger group. It's 2/3 voting capacity. That's basically how you have to look at this.
Yeah. So I mean, at a certain point, though, or on this same client, though, because I looked away for a split second. Same client. And I'm interested, like, you're running brand campaigns, obviously, on Meta and on Google. Are they doing what they're supposed to be doing, or you're not even bothering with brand campaigns because you're already getting it through your Google Shopping stuff, and I have to assume probably through your Meta as well. Like,
we started a small little brand campaign. We're pulling out of PMax. The reason why this was important to do this here is because this bad boy right here that is all of a sudden now tanking in spend is okay. I'm not going to lose any new customers. Proven here. You can't increase spend a little bit and have a better NCAC and say you lost a customer. Math doesn't math there. It has to be you gain more new customers. That's the math. And this is tanking down. That's fine. I don't really care that I'm stealing away, money from the brand that is $20,000 compared to the $1,700, $500. So yes, the biggest one lost 8% in revenue from the brand name. That's okay. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
As you push into standard shopping, you actually see that Performance Max has to follow. This is why it's called feeder strategy. As I pull out the branded terms and I push into the non-branded terms, if you guys will remember, if we look at I don't have the sheet anyway, but if we look at like the pants, athletic and leggings and casual and that kind of stuff, what is going on here? Okay, so it's like Performance Max is no longer just living and dying by the brand name, -8% down, but leggings, which we're pushing is 74% up, tall pants for women that we're pushing is 20%. This one is another brand, but then jeans for tall women that we're pushing is 81% up. Men's tall pajama pants that we're pushing is 546% up. When we start to push in standard shopping, Performance Max says, "Oh boy, new traffic," and they run that way.
Yeah,
and that's what we're doing. We're transitioning out of the sucking on the Performance Max brand teat for all of our ROAS and actually pushing for new customer acquisition, which we could prove here.
What's interesting though, just the name of this brand actually has a keyword. Like, it's a keyword dense.
It's so close. Yeah.
brand name. So it's almost like tall leggings kind of is a brand. It's almost like that's a brand keyword.
Yeah, that's why Lululemon's amazing. Like no one can accidentally type that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We should probably get to some questions here.
Let's do it.
It's 3:03. I'm expecting my wife to deliver a half calf cappuccino here any second. But anyway,
is she staring at you right now?
No, she hasn't arrived. I've been like tracking her because I need a little bit of jolt. You're all banged up, so
Right.
I need to match your caffeine level. So let's get to some of the questions here.
Let's do it.
Once again, guys, appreciate you all coming on today. John Moran's dog. All right, woof.
Man, still kicking after 15 years too.
Still kicking.
I don't think this dog's ever going to cross that rainbow bridge. It's like this thing. He's just going to be there for. He's going to see my grandkids. All right. So, what conversion window do you recommend in Google Ads?
You're putting Bang in his dog bowl. I know you.
That's the only thing keeping him going. All right. So let's see.
You read or I read. It's up to you.
You can read. Yeah.
All right. I'll read it. What conversion window? Yeah, exactly. What conversion window do you recommend in Google Ads, and when should it be adjusted? Do you prefer 30, 60, or 90 days? And which one do you use by default?
Yes. So I don't actually have a default. That's the beauty of that. What we do here is everything is custom. You have two paths you can go down. It all will depend on how you measure and what you need to do. Now, if you have something that has a low repeat rate in purchases, then you want to match it to the longest point that you believe in your sales cycle. Mm-hmm. So if you're like, hey, we usually get less than 1.1 purchases annually from a user, or even every 6 months from a user or from a customer, if it's under 1.1, then I would stick more towards the 30-day. Even you can even do 60-day if you want.
Maybe 60, yeah.
Yeah. Right. Now, this next scenario, yes, I have a lot of repeat purchases, and I need to know in platform what is the campaign that is delivering me both a lot of new and a ton of repeat. So you must be counting your conversions as every and not one. You're watching your repeat rate metric, and I would choose 90 days there because you're going to develop your bell curve, and you can actually use conversion by conversion time versus conversion by click to get a sense of the future. I will share with you all a small visual of this now, because I think this is actually extremely important. I do get this question a lot, and it is never an answer that is just clear cut and dry. It is always, it depends, because it actually does.
That is the default answer in all of marketing questions.
Exactly.
It depends. So go for it.
Yep. Now, if I look at yesterday, for example, and I segment by conversions and days to conversion, if you look at this column of the by time or the conversion value by time, it will look a lot different than if you're measuring by click on what they call an accrual basis. So then if you look at these two over here, actually, you know what? I'll put them together so you'll see how vastly different they are. And I'd have to ask you, it depends. What column do you use when you measure conversions and conversion value? Is it by time or is it by click? So do conversions by time, conversion value by time, compared to conversions by click, compared to conversion value by click. Watch how different these are. If you look at the one that is the conversion value by click, you're pretty much not going to see anything way out here. Everything's going to be zero. Why? Well, it's accrual. Yesterday, you can't have future sales. Now, if you scroll a little bit over this way, here's thousands of dollars.
Right.
Why is that different? Well, yesterday, your accrual says, yeah, you have nothing from previous yesterday. It's not possible. But if you say yesterday, actually, we had a whole bunch of money come in, but it was from people 7-8 days ago, 8-9 days ago. By the way, that one person that bought 2 months ago, hey, they reordered. Oh, really? Yeah. Remember that person 45 to 60 days ago? They also bought yesterday. They spent $161. Oh, now you're comparing the two. So I would ask you, do you need to be able to look out to day 60? Do you need to look out to day 90? Are you expecting to see returning sales that far out? If your answer is yes, then do 90, count every. But if you're like, no, I need this thing like 1 day accrual. I just look at whatever 1 day. If it's over 1, I'm good to go. Well, then, a 3-day window would be fine for you. It depends on how you measure. But you can see that this is a difference of, $24,000 and $33,000 yesterday. And if you're not at the level to say, I know why that's 24 and I know why that's 33, and I have confidence to know that yesterday's 24 will eventually, after 60 days, turn into a 33, then asking the question about the conversion window, maybe take one step before that and say, how would I measure? And then you can decide from there. So it gives you a little bit of a roadmap and blueprint, as there's no wrong answer. It's up to you.
Yeah, it's an it depends. And yeah, where's the easiest way to find like first impression to first conversion inside the MCC? Like where do you go for that?
There's a few things. What I typically do to give us the best chance is make the right one.
And I know we've covered this before. I'm just like, so many people ask me this. So anyway, I want to show it again.
So if you make the right column over here, the red one, conversions, it's not, there is no reason why this works. It's just what I do that gives me the best chance. So just go with it. But the right one, make it conversions. And then always make sure you have this conversion column here. If you remove this conversion column, the blue line goes away. But once you get that blue dot, there you go.
There you go. There it is.
So it's 6 days. Remember, we looked at the last 7 days of scale, and I'm already making more new revenue off of that scale inside the time lag.
I think that's one of the best features of like the Google ad platform is that right there.
It's so overlooked. People are just like, I don't know, look at it every week. It's like, okay, so you got 84% of your data that you're wondering why does it look like the 99% of your data from last week?
Yeah, totally. All right, let's go to the next question here. Arms of Andes. Nice. I know these guys. How can we market our wool-based layers and outdoor clothing to travelers who are preparing for trips to cold destinations like Patagonia during the summer? We've noticed that people still buy our products in warmer months for these types of trips. How can we effectively reach them? I hope you guys are feeling better. Arms of Andes has been talking with Tier 11 and TJ. So thanks for coming on.
Nice.
What's your sense of, very good question, by the way.
Absolutely. So here's what I would say is really
appropriate for today's case study.
I was just about to say, we'd have to go back in time to look at the other video of how we extracted the year-over-year performance and when and where. But what's cool about this is you actually have this data already, even if you don't open Google or Meta. You have this data.
Like I said, we did that analysis, I think it's 3 or 4 shows ago. So just so they are, I would go back and look at that because it's totally right on case here. So go ahead. Sorry.
Exactly. So I would look through try to gather as much information you can internally first. You could even hire a business intelligence company to do this if you wanted to. I mean, go ham internally first, because what you can actually extract out of pretty much any CMS is what are the days and times, week over week, quarter over quarter, certain geographies start to purchase this wool. Like you'll have that. You're like, yeah, we got 6 orders from California. It was Northern California in March, and then it was Southern California in, I don't know, October. I'm just making things up here, but you'll have that data. The hard part is analyzing it. It is much easier to be like, hey, let's try some new campaigns here. But that's like kind of buying a stock without zooming out. Like it might look like this, be like, it's going to go up soon. But if you zoom out and it's been 10 years in the downturn, like, you got to have to say, if we expecting this to go up? So that's why we look at what my question to you, and you actually have this data, and I'm just going to call you Arms of Andes. I don't know your name. My apologies. But if I said, what happened last year in April and where? You can put money to that because that happened probably in spite of you running campaigns. And now you can do it because you're running campaigns. And that's where you get to push it for a head start. It's like, we already know the ball is going to start to roll. So a day before, I'm going to run and kick it as hard as I can to get it going. Like that's what you're doing with launching these campaigns now. But you can segment them out by geography. You can segment them out by location. In my opinion, I don't know. And I'm a wool wearer. I do a lot of like bushcraft woods, that kind of stuff. So I'm all wool everywhere. But the wool base layers, and I know what that happens, I will start to even buy those in summertime or, even fall. Like if I have, a different size, I'm a different weight, and I want to buy something new because I know I'm going to be taking a trip in a month or 2 from now in a place that's cold. A lot of times you buy it because it's post summer. So I would say summer is probably great. But look at the level of those products that start to sell. And that's where we actually did this analysis, because you'll be able to see this here and say, okay, I know, and you can add in another layer here that just basically gives you your geography. But we say, okay, button shirts in Q1 Q2 gained $100,000, but shorts went from 250 to 500, and that gained 115,000. How many shorts did we sell, and what state? And tell me in Q2 between April, May, and June when it happened the most. That's your campaign blueprint.
There used to be a great targeting feature in Facebook when it was Facebook. Planning on taking a trip to X country. It was such a good target, and it worked really well. We had a ton of travel companies. Is there anything similar to that, like remotely, just for Arms of Andes here inside Google? Like I don't even.
There used to be. You know what's funny is it's executable. Google just doesn't listen. Like I literally
yeah.
took over an account the other day that had 7 Performance Maxes. They all had the same SKUs, but the 7
Yeah.
Performance Max had the asset group signals of competitors or people who are elderly because they're orthotic shoes, people who have, this, people who have that, people who have this. You know what all 6 of those campaigns showed up for? Brand. So it was 6 PMax campaigns selling the same product to the same people with the same search terms.
Yeah.
So you used to be able to say like, okay, I want to target this audience. It's like, okay, I'll do that. But as soon as Google said, wait, that keyword worked, it just throws everything out the window and does what it wants.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying is you can do it. You can do in Meta very easily. Okay, I know these pockets start to warm up to these type of products at these seasons. It doesn't matter if it's December or June. If they're going to buy, they're going to buy. Sell it to them. But we have to analyze where it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, for this particular case, we used to try and target clients or customers with flex targeting inside Facebook, which was basically travel interest overlaid with Patagonia. And it was literally that little center right there was just like, oh man, the conversions were unbelievable. Yeah. So, and then they took away all that targeting. Now the algorithm supposedly does it for you. All right. Thanks for that question there. Well, John Moran's dog is back for more here for e-commerce. We got to feed John Moran's dog. Do you always use the feeder strategy right there, shopping and PMax, or are there scenarios where they don't fit? If so, when and why?
Yeah. So if I'm going to be pushing like really, really, really hard in a particular area, yes, I will always use Performance Max. If I'm dipping my toe in specific areas, no, I will not, because Performance Max is extremely good at getting any sort of conversions it wants from anywhere. And if there's not something feeding it, scaling heavily, then it doesn't work. So what you're doing is you're setting up a gigantic trash bin. And what you're doing is saying, I'm going to try landscaping. I'm going to pick one weed. I'm going to throw it in and see if I like that. Well, you're supposed to fill the trash bin. That's Performance Max. You only supposed to run Performance Max or a feeder strategy when you're trying to feed it a continuous new amount of users in an overwhelming fashion so often that it cannot go warm and brand and existing customers. So when it can't retarget new, it retargets old. So that's why we have to keep feeding it new so it can retarget new. So the only time that I don't run it is if I'm trying to spend maybe only like $100 or $300 a day and see if they're, is this worthwhile? Is this quality users data, it purchases, conversions, lead quality, and whatever it is. Is this area good enough to say I can crank this up and bolt on PMax to assist in that scale?
Okay. So like if you're dipping your toe in the water, not a good strategy. If you're really looking for a wholesale strategy that, you have maybe even maxed out your other campaigns, that's when you would do it. It would be like a phase 2 in most cases.
And there's a new update in Performance Max that just came out. So you can actually add individual negative keywords inside of Performance Max. So I'm going to be testing this. I have a feeder strategy actually set up and I'm running it right now. I have about $1 million a month in ad spend that we're pushing to it. So I will have a lot of data to share with you. But what this essentially means is, and I don't even know if it's in this account, as it's not in this account that we're running it in, but let me just add an example. If I see this one,
the laboratory,
right? If I see that jeans, joggers, and pants, cool. If I go into the insights here and I don't see jeans, joggers, pants, then it's not working for jeans, joggers, and pants. And so we know that it's working for sweatpants, good. Leggings, good. Women's tall pants, maybe not. Brand at 666 conversions instead of 30. No, that's really shitty. It's brand. So this isn't jeans, joggers, and shirts. This is whatever I want. So if we go into the keywords here, we don't actually have it. We don't have it here. Oh, wait. That's not in my campaign. I have to go into the Performance Max campaign. It wasn't filtered. It was just selected. So let me do this here, campaign. Let me go into that campaign and then go into keywords. You don't see keywords here. I have another account that keywords is right at the top, negative keywords. So it's in between the audience and location, negative keywords. I'm going to go into the individual feeder strategy counterpart of standard shopping, and those search terms will have to match. Any negative keywords that go into standard shopping go into negative PMax counterpart feed only. Ooh, it's going to be great. Now segmentation by categories is beautiful. So I'll have some updates for you then. We're in the lab cranking away, working on things. It's not a meth lab, even though I talk like it, but it'll be fun when it comes out. He's not in the Winnebago out in the middle of we're Breaking Bad, but with less drugs.
That's right.
Not none, just less.
Just my caffeine is almost here, John. Expect an enhancement of performance. All right. Julio Cesar Benitez Visa. Oh my gosh, that's the best name we've ever had on the show.
That's amazing.
I wish I had a name.
I feel like I'm in presence of royalty.
I think really it should have like, Windsor the third or something like that at the end. All right. Hi, John and Ralph. I've been hyper-segmented asset. If I have hyper-segmented asset-based PMax campaigns for 2021 with all SKUs running alongside my feeder strategy, will the feeder strategy be negatively affected?
Yes. So here's the issue that we're seeing in this as well is each time we're taking over something like this, and this is that same campaign that you saw 666 branded conversion and then 30 non-brand right underneath it. So our top performing keyword is doing more than 20 times better, which is our brand. However, we have different audience signals and interest demographics and your data and segmentations for pants and then men's pants 2024 with different audience and segmentations, different images and different, all of this hard work is chucked out the window when it's Google's just like, hey, brand works.
Look at your beautiful images. Look at you.
I know they're so great, and so I am so glad that we took all this time, effort, energy, and money, and then gave them to Google, and they went, and they wiped their butt with them. That was fantastic. That was amazing, Google. Thanks.
All that
was
effort
fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I wasn't there when that happened, but they've been doing this for over a year, so it's been happening for a long time. But a branded ROAS looks fantastic, and especially if I assume it's all my hard work. Right. So those hyper-segmented, asset-based Performance Max campaigns, in my opinion, haven't really worked since 2021. Not really. And when I say work, I mean, you should be able to have 50% that ad spend and see new customers grow. Yeah. That doesn't happen anymore, especially as identified since 2021. Look at all the new existing returning customers that are here. These are cheap. So that's why I also pushed the brand. But the feeder strategy, what I use my feeder strategy is a higher T ROAS than my standard shopping. If I'm at 1, I'll be at 3. If I'm at 150, I'll be at 4. If I'm 50, I'll be 200. So it's always like a magnitude higher than your standard shopping, but it has to be feed only, and it has to be new customer acquisition enabled. Now, those two really don't do anything, but I sleep better at night knowing that I've told them to at least go after new customers. So when I check it, hopefully it listened a little bit, 20 to 30% more. Usually doesn't, but it helps.
You say you talk to your computer, or you just talk to Google, the Google gods at night? Is that how that works?
I do a rain dance in the backyard, and I have a shrine in that corner. Yeah.
Okay. You knock on the window of the black van that's sitting outside your house too. Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah. I was just like, hey, can you actually make your Performance Max do what you promised?
Stop monitoring my every move, will you guys? All right. Grober has this question. Hi, John and Ralph. Do you have any meta strategy recommendations that complement my feeder strategy in Google? We're a seasonal e-commerce clothing store, AOV 140. Ad spend on Google is 40K. I'm going to assume that's per month.
Yep. So this is a bit of a harder to overcome type of environment when you're talking about feeder strategy and overlap on Google and Meta. I'm going to pause camera because this, for some reason, has been taking a long time to load, but I'm going to share screen so you're still entertained. I'm going to go. Actually, I'm not going to share screen yet so that you don't see all the names of all the campaigns I'm looking at. But I'm going to pull up a campaign real quick because this is my account and I am able to share this publicly. Give me 1 second while this loads. But this has been the only thing that we've seen that really, really helps something like feeder strategy because it's for a specific tool. All right, give me 1 moment. Almost done.
And he says he's aiming for a 5 ROAS. Did you not get the memo that ROAS sucks?
All right. Oh, 5 ROAS. What about new customers? Do you want any of those?
Yeah, I mean, I can get you 5 ROAS. Just give me your list.
Sure. All right, if you give me $1, I'll spend $5, Kieran,
to sell the same customers that would have bought from me anyway. So why not? Anyway, we're poking fun at Grover here. All right.
No, it's all in good fun. So here's what's interesting. This was something that we've been spending some good amount of money on, and we've been optimizing for new customer purchases. And that was good and fun and fine until we asked asked Meta, hey, can you actually go after some new customers for that product? They said, sure. And they got us new customers for the old product because it went warm traffic, which is what Meta does. Of course. So this is a test that we've been running with actually a very specific product new customer. Now, this means that, yes, you got a per purchase of a new customer. This says, but if I want my critical immune defense product to actually sell critical immune defense product, it better tell me that I sold a brand new customer on the purchase_immune, which is my critical immune defense product. Now, when you actually custom conversions, through CAPI, actually can be done inside of the Wicked platform, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But it is the data suite that allows you to actually import. So it is available. It's just not built in this particular instance because it's not a data suite customer. But this was actually coming from kind of their own server side, and they're importing it, and it's working. However, what this is...
They figured out data suite before data suite. So
yeah, they did. It was kind of crazy, hyper smart. But anyway, see the difference here though, is that when we did this twice before, even so much that we actually said this can't work with feeder strategy, especially we started making new accounts and then it started selling the wrong product again. We're like, damn it. So what we did here is saying, if you're going to run a feeder strategy is specific. I'm running a feeder strategy on button shirts. If Meta starts selling swimwear, I'm dead in the water. I can't, that's a broken funnel. It fell apart right there. It will not see its way through. But if I launch a feeder strategy on a particular item, and then I can launch a like an L0 or like a Advantage Plus, whatever it is. But if it's counting, yes, you're actually making those purchases. I have 27 purchases on my website, 29 of them. 27 are the product that it is trying to purchase, and we're optimizing it. Didn't take long. It's only 3 days. We are literally beating our NCAC by 3 or 75% basically when we're counting hyper specific conversions. So feeder strategy is for a specific task. But if you roll that over a bunch of different channels, it will break down. Once it gets to Meta's door and say, hey, we got a guy interested in slacks. You're like, oh, they're on the leggings page right now. That's what I'm selling them. It still will count that as a sale, but it broke down. So that's what we've been finding with specific meta strategies, is that those custom imports of the actual product that was sold at the time for a new customer is the only way to get this thing. And this first 4 days, seeing our NCAC go to historical levels that we have never hit in years is crazy happy right now.
I would go back and watch that replay of your answer again, because there was so much there to deconstruct.
Yeah, gotta go fast.
Yeah, amazing. All right, we have 6 minutes to go through a lot of questions.
Oh my God.
Here. Where does the time go? Muhammad, John Ralph, for e-commerce and Google, what are the current standard campaigns you always run? Also, do you still run any competitor campaigns? And a longtime fan. Love you guys and appreciate all you do.
Yep. So I'm going to answer the competitor campaigns first. Yes, but
we love you too, Muhammad.
Wiley. We do love you.
So does John. Yeah.
Yep. So choose your campaign, or sorry, choose it wisely, your competitors. Here's what I would suggest. Do a competitive campaign, but add a clarifying keyword. For example, let's say you sell desks. You can go after Wayfair, but Wayfair sells desks and 10,000 other things. So not everyone that Googles Wayfair wants a desk. So have something that is a cold traffic-esque type of search term, like Wayfair desks. If I'm going to Wayfair to buy a desk, I'm going to be typing in Wayfair desk. If I'm going to Wayfair to check the tracking, I'm not going to type in Wayfair desk to check my tracking. So you qualify it. Say, I assume they're not an existing customer because they're searching for a competitor name plus. So it's competitor name alternative, or even reviews, or scam, or product name, or service. So try to have the qualifying keyword and choose your competitor wisely, meaning choose a good company, because otherwise your phone is going to explode of, why can't I refund it? Where's my order? You guys suck. And you're like, oh, you're not even trying to get to me. Traffic is dumb. Just use it as a good thing. People are amazing. Traffic is dumb. And we all do it. We all Google something. We click on something, like, oh, I went to the wrong place. We're not paying attention, but you're spending money on it. So just assume traffic is dumb is always kind of a fun way to think about it, to say, if I get a call from this company, or if I get a sale from this company too, what's the likelihood that this company sucks and has a whole bunch of people hating them, or this company is great and has a whole bunch of people loving them? Because that is actually going to eat up your ad spend before you even know it.
Yeah, interesting. So ride the coattails of the good brands. All right, let's get through
for
these
standard campaigns we always run. That's always it depends. I don't have an answer for you at that point. It has to be specific to a goal.
Good. All right, Lakshya. I'm just terrible on this one.
Lucky.
Yeah,
Lucky, my boy.
Lock. He's my man. Thank you for doing this, guys. Question: I've seen YouTube go warm as we scale time across multiple accounts. What would you say is the best way to keep YouTube cold?
Sequencing campaigns. Campaigns lately have been delivering 96% cold traffic, and I get to determine how much frequency they get to get and when and where. It's amazing. Check out sequencing campaigns. I hope they don't go away with demand gen, because I will cry so hard. They are amazing.
We have to do another show on that, actually.
I just watched one last night at midnight.
Yeah. That's so cool. It's such a cool strategy. And I forget which show we talked about it, but we got to do an update on that one.
Yep.
Note for next week. Main KPIs I've observed pretty consistently. You
probably also see a follow other trends. Like Meta has a bad day, so does YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Eugen says, hello, John and Ralph. Everyone's saying hello today. Everyone's
hey, everybody.
Proper and nice.
I know, so polite.
So polite. Such a polite crew.
Question over here, like, sup, dude?
What's up, man? New business, women's footwear industry in Europe, budget $3K a month. What's the best strategy if not for scaling? What's the most stable, John? And what's the most stable, John? There is no stable, John. But anyway, what's the most stable and what would you do?
Yeah, honestly, in the beginning, just to get a feel for everything, if it's a 3K budget, my assumption is it may not have the great brand name or tons of existing customer. Honestly, it's okay just to do a feed only PMax. The bad part is you got to look at what the customers are coming in from. If it's old traffic, returning customers, PMax will look great, but it sucks. But if it's like, hey, we're kind of running a brand new, you can run standard shopping, but your CPCs are going to be higher. You can run feed only PMax, but because you hopefully don't have a insanely awesome brand name. I mean, not insanely popular, I guess I would say, brand name yet. And you don't have a ton of existing customers yet. You can run feed only PMax to get a really nice low budget feel for how the market is actually interacting with the products they have for sale. Because there's always a Pareto rule. 20% of your products will do 80% of the sales. Where they are, no one knows. So I typically like it to launch. That's what I did here is I launched those campaigns for 5 days. And that's what you saw inside of this here, inside of that company that we talked about as a case study today. I ran it for a week. Make sure, okay, this thing's going to go because the small money I'm spending on is profitable. Let's kick it up now.
Yeah, absolutely. Mitch Barham just wants to say he started the show at 3:06.
Oh,
he came here. He got here, which we appreciate that. Beardpreneur, friend of ours, Mitch. What's up, buddy?
Came in at 3 o'clock, so we got to end at 4:06 now. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. YouTube Live.
Let's start a whole damn new show. Actually, we've got only 1 minute here. How are you doing on time?
I'm actually good. I can go over if we need to.
We can go a little bit over?
Wait, no, I can't go over. Not today. I have a call in 1 minute that I do have to jump on. Sorry.
No, I have to drive to Georgia or some friggin' place.
Right, let's see if we can get through like one or two more.
Abdelhari.
Oh, sorry. That was me.
You want to just read these out?
I was trying to scroll and I clicked. My apologies.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right. So, hey, John, please, I want to ask you about changing bid strategy for TCPA to ROAS because CPA is less spend. Here's what you have to look at. You can change from TCPA to ROAS, but look at what the last 30 days of historical ROAS has been and match that. Now, if you're saying like my TCPA goal is 10, I'm getting 50 and it won't spend, something's wrong. Do not make any changes. If you're like, I'm trying to blast up my ad spend, but my cap is too low and it's not spending and it's kind of dying, change to that's just going to reset and blow your budget through the roof because you have 7 days of banked ad spend that's ready to fire as soon as you change bid strategy. And Google's like, I didn't know. And it blasts all of your ad spend out in like 2 days and you get fired. So what I would say is look at your TROAS and say, okay, this CPA of $25 gets me about a 2.86. Launch it on TROAS, but drop it down to like a TROAS target of like 200. Start lower by about 30 to 40% than what you're currently getting. Because as it shifts over, it's like, oh, I'm already matched goal. I can keep going. It doesn't have to do relearning too much. It's just going to look at a different target, make it a little bit easier. It is adaptable to be able to start quicker. But if you're like, hey, I'm getting a 200% TROAS, or sorry, I'm getting a 200% ROAS. So let's start it at 500%. It's just going to tank and you're never going to actually get a click because it can't learn. So leave it more aggressive so it can learn and roll into your new bidding strategy.
Makes sense. Can we do 3 questions in 1 minute?
Let's do it.
All right, here you go.
All right, I'm going lead gen real estate market. I have a client that wants to promote specific properties via YouTube ads. Can you go through some strategies of accurate targeting? Your ad spend has to be at least 5 Gs a day. I'm not joking. Yep. You are going to have such a high ad spend to make that market penetration. It is going to make your head spin. My opinion, do not do this. Not unless you're like utterly confident. And this client's like, here's 100 Gs. I don't know. Try something. This is going to get very expensive. YouTube targeting, like we heard, goes warm. So anybody that's on an existing website, 40% of all of your daily ad spend is already doing remarketing.
Right.
If you are trying to do an engagement campaign, like a sequencing campaign to a specific area, you can, but you're going to have to spend that 5 Gs because you're saying, hey, everybody that's not interested, get ready to be interested. You're running a TV commercial. You're going to have to pay TV commercial prices and repeatedly to warm a market.
Right.
So I would always say if this is something where you're going to be judged by like ROAS and CPA and leads and cost per lead and lead quality, do not go into YouTube. But what I would say is if they want to promote specific properties, I would run the MLM listing on, or MLL, whatever it is, MLS. Listing on search to a very smaller radius of area to test to see is there search traffic in that area or if there are people wanting to move in that area. Real estate's stupid tricky, but just if you're like, no, I'm gung-ho with YouTube, prepare for like a 1 to 5K per day ad spend. It's going to need it.
Got it. It's got a follow up here.
Okay. Do you typically stack different audiences, custom segments inside the same YouTube campaign? Yes. For this one, there is a very specific audience that is something like a life event of getting ready to move or thinking about moving or planning a move. That is actually the only audience you could do. The problem is someone's like, hey, I'm ready to move. And they're like, here's a nice property that's right here in this area. I'm moving to Alaska, but thanks anyway. Like you pay money for that. Right. So that's what I'm saying is this is very, very, very difficult because you got to convince someone, hey, sell your house and move there.
It's tricky
on YouTube.
Tricky. Yep. Powell is our last question here today.
All right. When you create when you create campaigns on Meta, do you create a specific remarketing campaign or do you use one campaigns? So for Meta campaigns, I will always do a Advantage Plus shopping without the catalog. I will use regular normal ads, particularly because that campaign is what Meta wants to do, and it will do the most remarketing. I will then say in my particular subset of stacks of campaigns, is this doing what I expect it to do, and at what levels, and how do I control it with the cost cap to go even warmer, and how much ad spend should I put on it? So I let the metrics dictate, but I always will not a remarketing campaign. I actually like Advantage Plus shopping. It is a little bit more breathable and a little higher performing.
And that is all we got for today, ladies and germs.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. We'll be back next week. Same time, same channel, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. John Moran, it's a pleasure, as always.
This is fun. And Mitch, don't be late next time, okay?
Yeah,
personally.
I know. I can't believe Mitch was 33 minutes late. But anyway, we will see you all next week on the next Tier 11 Live, 2:30 Eastern, next Friday. Till then, have a great week.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.